There we go. That's a little better, isn't it? Are you all okay with that now? I don't have to talk so loud. Well, this morning we are going to be talking about in Joshua chapter 10, sun-stopping faith. The idea that we could have a faith that could ask incredible things and it would be granted to us. So many times in our life we have opportunities to do great things, but we see obstacles in our way that stop us from being able to do the thing that we truly desire. Growing up in Oklahoma, I had the luxury of enjoying lake life. And we have bodies of water here that we call lakes here in town. And down south, we call those big ponds. And because the lakes that I grew up with are, 20, 30 miles worth of lake, where you could literally get on a boat and go for 3 or 4 hours straight driving full bore and not get to the other end of the lake. And enjoy that and just that kind of life. But the neat thing about that is that none of those lakes were originally there in Oklahoma. They were all products of people going, we really want something, it's not here, but we're going to figure out how to make it happen. And so the way that they would do that is they would find one of the rivers that was running through Oklahoma, and they would find an area where there was a lower level of land, and they would just dam up that river and flood back everything to a certain point and then hold the water at that level to keep the lake that size. Well, to do that sometimes you have to understand that Oklahoma was populated, and those lower levels still had cities and towns in those areas, but they wanted lakes more than they needed those small towns. And so outside of Tulsa, one of the lakes there is called Lake Keystone, and it's because of the Keystone Dam. A huge lake, really wonderful. And you can go there today, and there are certain aspects in certain areas of it that you can go scuba diving and dive down into the lake, and you can swim down in there, and you'll see school buses and houses and roads and street signs, because what they did was they would take it and they would get a designated time, and at that time they would just say, okay, on this day, this all goes away. And John was one of those guys that had a house in the lower level of Keystone Lake. And a year before they decided to do it, as they were finishing up the dam and getting ready to dam it up and finish it and stop the waters, they notified the people. They had been going through and buying up the houses, and there's still a few people that didn't really want to sell, and they liked their place. David, you know what I'm talking about with that, right? With the roads and stuff. You have a few of those people who are like, no, I love this shanty. It's the greatest, and you can't take it away from me. And eventually, eminent domain happens, and they go away. And he had gotten his notification along with his neighbors that had stayed. 1 year from today, don't be here anymore. The craziest thing happened once that notification happened. Everybody stopped taking care of their house. Everybody stopped mowing the lawn and putting special fertilizer on it. Everybody stopped replacing different things on the house. Nobody decided to paint their house anymore. And when there got to be a crack in the window, for some reason, nobody wanted to fix the windows. Because everybody knew that now in 6 months, it was going to be gone. In 3 months, it was going to be gone. And what's the purpose of sinking in all this funds and making all this effort to have all these things when it's just going to be gone anyway? And John came up with this saying that I think is so true as it comes into what we're talking about today. Where there is no faith in the future, there's no power in the present. I want you to think about that. Where there is no faith in your future, there's no power in today. See, for them, what was the point in trying to do and have more and to work on today for something's going to happen tomorrow when there's not going to be a tomorrow? And for us, if we like this idea and this thought process of having this incredible faith, a faith that would stop the sun, then we need to really understand that we have to have a faith looking towards the future so that we can do incredible things today. Because if we can't see a future, we are not motivated for the now. As we get into chapter 10, we have to give a little bit of background in chapter 9 of Joshua. In chapter 9, there's this group called the Gibeonites. And Joshua and the people have crossed over the Jordan. They've beaten Jericho, they've taken it completely. They had their little run-in with Ai, and then they've destroyed Ai. And everyone is getting really nervous. And these other kings are getting really nervous because they know that they're on the list. And they're coming. God's people are coming. And the Gibeonites know that there is no way that they can stand up against them. And so they come up with this plan that they're going to deceive the Israelites. And so they come in there and they deceive the Israelites as if they're from way far away, and they ask for a treaty. And because they look haggard and messed up and from far away, Joshua and the Israelites grant them this treaty. And they say they will not harm the Gibeonites, only to find out that the Gibeonites were literally a stone's throw away. And they're frustrated, and the Israelites want to still destroy the Gibeonites because they lied to them, and they're mad, and they're angry. But Joshua understands that he's made a vow to the Lord and to them. And that now the Gibeonites are no longer aliens and people that are not a part of them. They're no longer the enemy. The Gibeonites are part of the family. Granted, they're not the best part of the family. They're the ones that nobody really likes at the family reunion, but they're there. They're the ones that nobody really wants to talk to, but they're there. They've been told that they've got to take on a servant's role in lesson becoming. They're never going to quite be where the other Israelites are, but they are still family. And as we come to chapter 10, the rest of the kings are mad and upset at what the Gibeonites have done. And when we go to Joshua, it says, the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, joined forces. They moved up with all their troops and took up positions against Gibeon and attacked it. Now, granted, these 5 kings, they didn't come up against Israel. They decided, we're going to go get the one that turned on us. We're going to make a statement to anybody else that thinks that they can have peace with Israel, that you better stand with us and we all survive, or we'll take you out ourselves. And Gideon is in a really tough situation right now because they're not really loved by the ones that are supposed to protect them. And most of them want to kill him anyway. Now they've got 5 kingdoms surrounding them and are on all fronts getting ready to destroy them. The Gibeonites then sent word to Joshua to camp at Gilgal, just stone's throw away. Do not abandon your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us, help us, because all the Amorite kings from the hill country have joined forces against us. And the Gibeonites plead to the only thing that they have. We have made treaty with each other. We are bound to each other. Joshua, come save us. And Joshua is in a really unique position because Joshua can take it and say, oh, I didn't really get that message. Oh, too bad. My problem is gone. And those kings are wiped out the Gibeonites. Or is he a man of God? And does he do what God has called for him to do, even though it's not really the people that he's really excited about saving? And I want you to see my first point this morning is this. God doesn't abandon his misfits and social others. The first thing we need to see as we look into the scripture is that God does not abandon those who we don't think and we don't look at as the best in the church. God does not abandon those who have walked down a path that others of us have not walked down. God does not abandon those who have made mistakes. God does not abandon those who have made bad choices and have lived a hard life. God does not abandon those who can barely seem to drag themselves inside the building to come worship him, as they hang their heads low because they don't even feel like they should be here, because they don't feel worthy of the Lord, God does not abandon them. God does not abandon the one who broke up the family. God does not abandon the one who has an addiction. God does not abandon the one who cannot seem to get their life right. He doesn't abandon his people. No matter what the circumstances are that they came to him, once they've come to him, he does not abandon them. Because when you are his completely. God does not look at your past and hold that over the top of you. God does not look at how you got there. God cares that you are with him now. And in the same way, when God saw the Gibeonites and in their trouble and what's going on, he encourages Joshua to do the right thing. Because now the Gibeonites are no longer the enemy. Gibeonites are no longer the ones who he has told Joshua to wipe out completely. They are now a part of the family. And as a part of family, God does not turn his back on his family. And so many times we feel when we've made mistakes in our lives, how could God still love me? How could God still want to be a part of this? How could God want me to be a part of his family? How could God want me there? And we have to stop and we have to realize that when you are his, you are completely his. With all your warts and your bruises and your scars, you are still his child. And he will fight for you. And he loves you. He is there for you. Because you have let him be your father. For him to love you and to care for you. As we go on through the story, it says, so Joshua marched up from Gilgal with his entire army, including all his best fighting men. The Lord said to Joshua, do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you. And Joshua, in this time going on, he goes all out. We need to understand that God goes all out. Joshua didn't bring enough of the army. He didn't bring some of the army. He didn't bring the ones that he could spare. He didn't bring the ones that he felt like had to do this. He brought the entire army. He brought his best for the Lord to do the Lord's business. Because God doesn't ask for us to go into a battle alone. God doesn't ask for us, church, to go through our troubles and our problems by ourselves. God says, trust. You will win this. You can get through this. I am with you. And you will do well. There's no sin in your life. There's no trouble that you're going through that I cannot beat, that I will not beat in my name. I am there for you. I'm sending my best. And there are times, church, that we are those soldiers that God is calling to go in marching orders. Because we have a brother and a sister in need. They need us spiritually. They need us physically. They need us emotionally. And God calls for us to bring our best. Not half-hearted, not with the time that we have to spare, but our best. Because those in need are the ones that God calls for us to help. John Calvin had an interesting thing that he said. One of his quotes is, faith alone saves, but faith that saves is never alone. You're never on your own when you have faith. Joshua, at the beginning of Joshua, this is what Jesus said, or what God says to him. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you. Do you see that? Wherever you go. Does not matter. God is with you. In the midst of your family struggles that you're going through, God is with you. In your relationships that you have, God is with you. In your workplace, God is with you. With your health struggles, God is with you. He goes with you everywhere. In your time of suffering, God is with you. In your time of joy, God is with you. We need to remember that we need to have courage to take on the overwhelming task. We're really good at having courage on taking on the things that we're good at. We're fantastic at having courage and stamina to do the things that we like. We're fantastic. We have courage to do the things that people tell us that we're good at. But God calls for us to have courage to take on the overwhelming. There's no doubt in my mind as we read this text, this is overwhelming on so many different levels. It's mind-boggling that you are willing to sacrifice your friends and your family, if you're Joshua, for people that have been deceptive, that are liars, that have done nothing but cause you heartache, who have given you grief, who have had the people frustrated with you. It's overwhelming emotionally. It's overwhelming physically to look up and say there are 5 kingdoms together in one spot, ready to pounce against us. It's not one Jericho, it's not one Ai, it's 5 to 1. And the Gibeonites pretty much worthless. So it's just you. It's overwhelming. But God says, I got you. You can do this. Maybe today you're looking at it going, this sin is overwhelming. I don't know how to deal with this. It seems like no matter what I do, I can't get past this. It's too hard for me. This relationship is too much for me. It's too hard to keep on going the way that I'm going. This health, I just want to give up. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. It's overwhelming. And God says, trust me, I am with you. We can beat this together. There's a place for you. And there's hope. As we continue on in the scriptures, it says, on the day the Lord gave the Amorites over to Israel, Joshua said to the Lord in the presence of Israel, sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. And it was written in the book of Jashar, the sun stopped in the middle of the sky and delayed going down about a full day. There was never been a day like it before and since, in the day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. And there are times in our lives whenever it's time for us with our faith to say, Lord, stop the sun. This task that I'm on is overwhelming. It's too much to get done. I need some help. Stand with me. Help me do this. You notice what Joshua didn't ask for? He didn't say, God, make it go away. God, make them afraid and run away. God, just send them somewhere else. God, do all this fight for me. God, what did he ask for? Be with me. God, help me do this. Because this is my task. This is my journey. And I know that if I can go with you, I can do this. And it's going to be hard, and it's bigger than anything I've ever done before. But Lord, I trust in you that if you open up this door and you leave it open, that I will get through this. And it will happen. We need to have a faith that God will step in when we ask. Jesus talks about this continually. In Matthew 7, he says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For anyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. And Jesus says, hey, if you ask in my name, it's going to happen. He says in Mark 11, truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their heart, but believes what they say will happen, it will be done for them. For therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. So does that mean, Brian, that all I have to do is start asking for stuff and it's just going to happen? Why did Joshua ask for the sun to stop? So that he looked cool in front of all his friends? Did he ask because no one else has been able to do it? Did he ask so that he'd be written up in a book about how great he was? The only reason why he asked, because he was asking God to help him complete what God desired for him to do. I truly believe that when we ask for the Lord to give us the strength and the power and to make crazy things happen so that we can fulfill his mission for us, that God will make it happen. Our problem is when we start asking for the Lord for any other reason. Because when we ask for any other reason, we're not asking out of faith. We're not asking for the benefit of the Lord, we're asking for the benefit of ourselves. So yes, if you say to this mountain, go and throw yourself into the sea, if God needed that mountain to move to the sea, if God needed that to happen for his glory, then God will allow that to happen for his glory because it was asked. Philippians 4 says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, asking God, with thankfulness, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ. If I get anxious and I get frustrated in the midst of my hardships and what's going on, and I pray to God to give me help in the situation, it says that if I ask with thankfulness and an understanding of who God is, that there is a sense of peace that can come to me. And that God will guard my heart from my own selfish desires and keep me focused on what he needs. Does that mean that I'm going to get what I ask for the way that I ask for it? Depends on how you ask. Are you asking in such a way that says, Lord, thy will be done? Are you asking in such a way that says, God, it's all about you? How can I serve you? God, I don't know how. You are leading me to do this, and I don't know how to do this. Can you open up a door for me, Lord? Can you show me how this needs to happen? God, can you give me the strength to follow through because I feel weary? Yes. I will answer that. But when I start asking, God, this is what I want. God, this is good for me. God, this makes me look good. God, this is what makes me feel good. God, this is what I think will bring me my happiness. And so do for me because this is what I want. Then my heart may not be right for God to answer that prayer. So when I ask, I need to not be anxious about it. I just need to lay it before God and let that peace come over me and know that whatever God decides, that's what God wanted for me. Even though I may not understand it at the time, that's what God wanted for me. I'm sure Joshua did not understand at the time why God says, send them all. Let's go get them. I'm sure there were a part of Joshua was thinking, would like to not have to do this. Not really excited about marching the entire army up against 5. But he had a sense of peace about it, didn't he? Because God says, I'm with you always. I'm telling you, you got this. You remember, he's just learned his lesson with Ai. When he does for himself, it doesn't quite work out right, does it? But when he listens to God, God makes the impossible possible. We need to start listening to God more so we have the walls of Jericho moments. So we can have these incredible moments so that when it comes to the time, when it's time for us to call or be called on by the Lord to come and save the Gibeonites, when it's time for us to come and help our brother and sister, when it's time to stare at something that's overwhelming and impossible, that we don't see it that way anymore. That we're too busy listening to God's words instead of the world's words that tells us that we're not able to do something, or it's not the best thing for us, or it's not the easy way, but it's still God's way. James 4 says, you desire, but you do not have, so you kill, you covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. And he gives us an insight there that it all matters on how we ask. It all matters. A sun-stopping faith is a faith that believes that God knows best. And when we are honed in on God, when we are focused in on what God's desires are, and we can see clearly what the need is, that God is driving us, and the only desire and the only motivation that we have is for the Lord, that's the moments, church, when the sun stops for us when we ask. That's the moment when incredible things happen. Because God's love for you is bigger than your battle. We need to understand that God's love for you is bigger than the battle that you're facing right now. Romans 8 says it this way, for I'm convinced, that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor demons, neither the present, nor the future, nor any powers, neither height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. There's nothing. There's nothing the world can throw at you that can stop you from being connected to the Father because of Jesus Christ. There's nothing out there. There's no struggle that you're going through. There's no heartache that you're experiencing. There's no suffering that you have been going through that it can separate you from His love. There's no past. There's no history that can pull you away from Him. He's in it all the way, 100% with you. And because of that love, we need to trust and have faith that that love is a love that wants the best for you. That desires for you to have peace, companionship and love, hope and understanding. A love that only wants and desires for you to have the full experience of what He created you for. That is our God. That's the God of Joshua, and that's the God of the Gibeonites. That's the God of you and I. It's the God of the one who sits in here that has grown up in the church their entire life, and it's the God of the one who has come recently to the faith that has a checkered past like no one would believe. The same God. A God who loves us all. And He calls for us to have a sun-stopping faith. Maybe you have had some time where you've kind of lost track and you've kind of lost focus on where you need to be. Maybe today's the day that you come in and you just say, God, I need it. My life is getting kind of crazy. There's so much that's been going on, and I've lost focus, and I need you to stop the sun in my life so that I can hone in on you, that I can get reconnected with you, that I can start winning this battle that I've let the world take over for way too long. And maybe we can help you with that today with a prayer. Maybe for some of you all, maybe you're the Gibeonites who have believed in the Lord, you've become part of His family, and you just need help. You're calling on the Joshuas in the building. You're calling on your Israelites that are nearby. And I want you to know, if you're that person, we're standing here ready to march. Weapons in hand, spiritually ready to fight the battle with you. You are not alone. You don't have to be alone. God has promised you. You have made peace with him, and he is there for you. And maybe there's some of you all that have not ever done that. Maybe there's some in here that have never given their commitment to Christ, that have never made that peace. And you're in a big, bad world of people that are waiting to destroy you. And God is giving you an out. He offers you protection. He offers you hope when there is no hope. Because destruction's coming down the line. Whether you decide not to believe in him and take the destruction that comes on the day of judgment, or you can stand with him and avoid the destruction of the world. But there is destruction coming. Your choice is, how are you going to deal with it? If we can help you in any way this morning, will you allow us to do that as we stand and as we sing?